The first session, Building Code-Based AI Agents, is presented by Wouter, and he's an independent solution architect, developer, and consultant. He is a CAP community member, a regular speaker here at reCAP, at UI5Con, at SubTech and is the organizer of the Sub Insight track in Belgium. Very, very welcome, Wouter.
Thank you.
The stage is yours.
Just to check, do you hear me very well? Is it okay? Or I can keep it closer if it's not good. Just give a sign in the back if it's not good. And sorry for late, but it's not my bad this time. It's because of the keynote. And coincidence, I have something on my t-shirt that says, I'm always late, good things take time. Coincidence or not. But before I start, as already introduced, I'm involved in different technologies, and as an independent consultant, I'm working for different customers. And because combining different technologies, I'm also helping customers with innovation. In the past, I've helped them by adopting Fiori, adopting BTP, and since a year over now, I'm also helping customers with adopting AI. And that's adopting AI for building codes and building things, that's one thing, but bringing it to the end user, that's another thing. I already had a session yesterday at UI5Con on how to bring this to the user when it comes to user interface. Now I have similar session, but it's not about the UI, it's more what happens behind the scene, more about agents, building agents. But still, here the title mentions from concept to production. Going to production is still a challenge. I'm not sure, I will try to share my knowledge and my experience. Not sure if it will help you, but let's see how far we get. Who of you watched my session yesterday? Okay, yeah, I have some bad news. The first 10 minutes might be overlap. After that, it's new stuff. Feel free to leave and come back in 10 minutes. I don't mind. But I give you the possibility now to stand up and leave. So, or take a nap, a power nap. Yeah, again, the first topic of today is using agents to build applications. Because it's out there, we need to embrace it, and it will help us to build applications more efficiently. Second will be about building our own agents. And I have an example which we presented last year at Demo Jam at TechEd. That was my first real agent, and it's now being used by the team. But I will not show all the details because that one is more advanced. I had like a starter kit prepared for today where I can show some details. And then a third one, it's a bit beyond CAP, but I think it will inspire all of you. There is more out there that we can do with other frameworks, also in BTP, with AI Core, and combine with the technology of SAP, but they have more possibilities to go agentic. And things like that's been announced today, like the MCP protocol, the agent, that's nice, but there are frameworks out there that already have like agent-to-agent integrated, allow you to, with one line of code, create an agent and things like that. And I will just give you a quick demo of what I've done there as well. But let's first start, agents to build. My personal favorite is Claude Code. In my opinion, one of the best that gives the best results. But for personal usage, this is fine. When it comes to enterprises and companies, there are company policies, and it's not that easy to just start using it in a company with company applications, company data, and so on. What I see that most companies are doing is choosing for GitHub Copilot because it's Microsoft nowadays, and they have already Windows running. They have contracts with Microsoft. They have license with contracts with Microsoft and agreements. So for them, they have some faith and trust in Microsoft. That's one of the reasons they mainly choose for GitHub Copilot. What I also see is customers using Klein. On the one hand side, because SAP did a lot of demos with Klein at TechEd last year, and they also made it integrated in Business Application Studio. Besides that, one of the good things is if you're in an SAP isolated team, you can use your BTP credits to onboard your developers to use Client with AI core credentials. It's an easy way to start using AI agents without having a policy in place, and you can just do it with your BTP credits. And it's hosted, you can choose the LLMs hosted by SAP in a secure way and so on. So that's also something I see. And still, there are also customers that are choosing for open code because they like to have the LLMs and the infrastructure on premise to not share anything of their code bases, not anything of their data with the public or with other providers. So if you have like your own infrastructure, open code is a way to plug in. Besides that, open code can also be plugged in with AI Core. One of the things I like to do, but that's only when I have credits too much at the end of the week or at the end of the month, is let them battle each other. I have a subscription for Claude Code and Codex, and sometimes just for fun, I let them battle each other. So I ask a question to Claude Code, implement it, and at the same time, I ask Codex to review what the other one is doing, and sometimes in the other directions. The nice thing is that in some reason, they focus on different aspects. Some focus on security, while another is focusing on performance, and they find different things. If you really want to have the perfect application by AI, you need to let them battle. But of course, it takes tokens, it takes credits. You should not do it when you have limited tokens, of course. Also, a little bit about my journey. Where I'm coming from. So I think in around 2023, I was still using ChatGPT and copy-pasting. The copy-pasting is one thing, but the results were also not that great. Sometimes it gave a solution like of 10 to 20 lines of code, while it was simply a configuration property in the system, because it was missing the knowledge of SAP. Later on, I started using GitHub Copilot. It was a hint from Gregor, who said, hey, have you tried Copilot? And it was the first shift for me, instead of copy-pasting, to have it in line, but still required a lot of reviewing, a lot of clicks. And then since last year, I've started using Cloud Code. And in the beginning, it felt like a step back, and the terminal-based version of it, while GitHub Copilot had this nice interface, nicely integrated in Visual Code with reviewing, nice differences. But if you combine Cloud Code with Git commits and so on, you have the same experience. And nowadays, they also have like a nice user interface. But today, I'm still using the terminal version for some reason. I just like to have the terminal-based one. But the biggest change came in September with the MCP servers. The MCP servers for UI5, CAP, and Fiori. Because suddenly, Cloud Code or Copilot, let's say, they have the knowledge of all the documentation available. Even though you are using an LLM, which is a bit older, like a few years old, might not have. Daniel mentioned this morning in the keynote. The LLMs have the knowledge, yes, but from a few years back. If you want to have the latest updates, then it needs to check the resources online. And therefore, an MCP server is the better option, because the LLM is just used to search across the documentation, get back what it needs, and apply that information on your code base. I have to ask, just to be clear, who of you doesn't know what an MCP server is? No? Anyway, I'm going to just briefly explain it, because yesterday somebody after the session came. Thank you for explaining it anyway. You can compare an agent with your laptop. The LLM is like your processor, and you can connect a hard drive, an external hard drive, a mouse, a webcam, and so on. And for that connection, we use a USB cable. If you compare this to an agent has an LLM, that's a processor, and the hard drive or the mouse, that is the SAP CAP documentation, the UI5 documentation. And MCP is like the USB cable. It connects the agent with those resources. Because of that, we make our LLMs up to date. And we just use the LLM for understanding and applying what's in the documentation. And Who of you is already using the MCP servers? Okay, good. So just to be clear, there are three, one for UI5, one for Fiori, one for CAP. And the one that I like the most is the one for Fiori because of the annotations. In the past, it was always a struggle to find the right annotations to do something in Fiori elements. And with this MCP server, you just ask it and it finds the right annotations. So that's the one I like the most, but the other ones are definitely as valuable as this one. I also listed down the steps on how to configure cloud code from the UI5 one to the Fiori app and the CAP one. There is one addition I would like to mention. There are MCP servers, thanks to Marian, and I spelled your name correctly this time, that gives access to the SEP documentation and ABAP documentation. And this gives an added value because sometimes if you have a specific problem that's not maybe related to the framework, but rather to SEP specific services or BTP, then you can also connect that one and can search beyond the UI5 and the SEP provider documentation. Because it also serves the community, and sometimes you face an issue that somebody else already mentioned in the community, it will search through it. It's changing. I will just also show a little bit about my setup on how I use cloud code. As you can see, I still have the terminal version. There is also a plugin with a nice user experience if you like to have a better, enjoy to have a better user experience. You can see here the MCP servers that I have connected, all three of them, but I also have like the ABAP documentation, Arc1 for one of my backend systems, some BTP systems, and so on. What you also see, I enabled bypass permissions. That's the level of trust I already gave it. I can just give it a command to do something, and I just wait until it's done. No approvals, no reviews. I review it at the end. And if it's not what I wanted, I just move it all away and start it over. Another thing I like, but again, it requires credits, as I'm not fully coding day to day. I'm coding day to day, but not full time, because I'm also doing architectural work. I have credits enough with my subscription. And I often, when I need to do something, I use the Ultra codes, because behind the scene, it's going to create agents, workflows, review agent, a documentation agent. You can define agents, but here it will try to do it for you. And this gives you the best experience. That being said, besides MCP servers, there are also skills. And there is like these public websites where you can find search for skills. And there are some skills provided. And there are skills from Capire and Fiori by default. But there are also SEP skills provided by Second Sky. And I think it's called SEP skills. Yeah, never mind. I have the link in the presentation. It will be shared afterwards, but there are from Second Sky SEP skills for not just UI5, CAP and Fiori, but also for services in BTP, for example, for Cloud Foundry. And the thing that I like about those skills is it helps to Cloud Code to describe how to use Cloud Foundry command line. And what this allows you to do is to, for example, ask to Cloud Code, provide me the deployment configuration, try to deploy it to my system, and if it fails, check the logs. If they evaluate the logs, and if it search for the error, try to fix it and deploy it again. You make those kind of loops so it continues until the problem is solved. And that combination of skills and MCP servers should be able to Cloud Code should be able to manage everything on its own. All right. So that about the skills. And yeah, they mentioned it yesterday. Probably it will be mentioned today in some of the sessions as well. For Cloud Code and I think also GitHub, there are for CAP and Fiori plugins that automatically install the MCP server and the skills. But I would definitely recommend to also check the non-SEP skills because they are also valuable. And the special thanks to Second Sky. I don't know who it is, but another thing I apply, and this is might save you tokens. When you really have to build a bigger application, a large application, and starting from the foundation, start by writing a PRD file. So you make like technical specifications. So you align with your AI what exactly needs to be built. So you first iterate over this document to make sure that you're on the same page, that the requirements are clear, that everything is there. And from the PRD, you can generate a task list, and then you can let it execute. For creating this PRD and this task list, I've been using Taskmaster, and it's a tip I got from Matthias Steiner. And his team is using it as well. It's an open source plugin which you can use. It helps you creating the PRD. It helps you to create a task list, and it also identifies dependencies. So if there is like tasks that do not have dependencies, you can use another instance of Cloud Code and focus on this task, while another instance can run on other dependencies. Or Cloud Code can also use multiple agents at the same time and process them. If you really use multiple instances, your credits will be gone very quickly, of course, but your application will progress very fast as well. And because of this Taskmaster, they also have a common shared memory. So between the different instances, the memory is being shared. So that will save some tokens. So in the end, you have the PRD, you have the Taskmaster, and then you can ask Cloud Code to work on different tasks at the same time. At one time, but it's been a while, I had like 3 instances in parallel, and I did not have like the unrestricted access, so I always had to review and approve, and I was continuously saying, okay, accept this, accept that, and 3 single instances. It doesn't look much, but it was quite intensive. And that's the first part about using AI for building applications. Just a few tips. There are many more. There are different ways. I'm also looking into working with SubAgent and like a complete development hub with Cloud Code, but I'm still experimenting with this one. So maybe something for later to share on how I'm using it. But there are way more advanced sessions about how to use Cloud Code in the best possible way. But this brings me to custom agents. For me, what I showed yesterday, it's more from a user experience level. Agents is more from a backend perspective. So we are not going to build an agent in the UI, and therefore we always need a CAP layer. And I'm happy to see that they also foresee the protocol like this add agent. What I will show you now today, I was not aware that the agents will be available like as an aspect or an annotation. So it's not with what you saw in the keynote. It's still like the old-fashioned way, let's say, but it might still be needed because it gives you more flexibility on how to create your agent and the different nodes and the different flow in your agent. But before I jump into agents, everyone knows what an agent exactly is. I will just very briefly also just make it clear so we're all on the same page, because sometimes people talk about an LLM and they talk about an agent. An agent and LLM are not the same. An agent has an LLM, but an agent has much more. An agent has reasoning capabilities, planning, it has a shared memory, and it has a set of tools. And the brain of the agent is the LLM. But it can do much more than this. So it's a combination of a set of tools and memory. And the first thing, my first agent was the smart monitoring toolkit, which we presented at Demo Jam last year. And I will start by showing this one. Okay, hopefully I do not need. Yeah, sorry for this one. So we made it available. There's a Fiori application. And yeah, I forgot to mention an agent. Mostly if we talk about agents, we think about a chat interface. An agent doesn't necessarily need to be a chat interface. Here we build a very precise agent to analyze the system logs for coming from ALM. So it's basically an extension on ALM built in BTP. But because and the agent will be used to analyze the error logs of a specific system. So here we see the list of SAP systems. And then if we trigger the agent, which I will right away show you, it will fetch the latest error logs for today and yesterday and the last 24 hours, and then check if there are errors. If there are errors, it will try to find a solution. And it gives you proposals, what should it do next? It's very precise, but the error logs can always be different. Every day there can be different errors. So we cannot put in some logic or algorithm. And that's where AI is really valuable. An agent is valuable because the input is always different and the output will be different. So if I select here a system, I click on Analyze Logs. It starts the agent behind the scenes. So it checks first what kind of system is this, and it will fetch the logs from that system. You see here it's loading, fetching the logs. It's using tools because ALM is connected as a tool to MCP. And here you see log analyzes. There is an error in the system. There is a database error. And then it proposes me like, what should we do? And that are the tools that I gave it. I gave it a set of tools like check certificates, check the dialog trace, search the SAP help documentation. I integrated the MCP server of Marian inside the agent. Also, a public web search. It's simply to put in like an MCP client. So I could, for example, say check the certificate just to make sure. It's probably not a certificate, but anyway, it's an easy check. And now it will fetch the details of all the certificates for that system. It will review it. It will say, okay, it's not an error, but there is a warning. So anyway, we need to check the certificates. Then I could say, yeah, search the SAP documentation. And it will use, again, an MCP server to check the SAP documentation based on what's in the error, and hopefully come back with a solution. So it searched, was successful. It gave me a summary, details, documentation. It gives links to the documentation of possible, oh, I might have zoomed in. And eventually I could say, okay, this helped me. I'm able to solve it. So let's say the problem is solved. At this point, I put in something. I put in some guardrails. So now the agent, it's only being used to review and to assist me. It's not going to act. A next step, it could be that it automatically is going to update the certificate. It's going to try to apply those fixes. But that's a next step. I'm not sure if you are ready for doing this. Right. Just for today, to give you a demo on how it works behind the scene and how to build your own agent, I made like a starter kit version, which is also on GitHub. I will not go in all the details because I think today with AI, if I give you the pieces that your agent can use to build his own, you will be able to manage it. You just need to find the right pieces to configure the agent. So let me show you. I'm going to close load. So in addition, it's an, I will explain right away, but this agent uses MCP servers. I took in the agent, I will this agent is a chat interface, and I will use it to read my BTP sub-accounts, my Cloud Foundry spaces, Cloud Foundry applications. And for accessing BTP and Cloud Foundry, I'm using MCP servers. As I'm testing locally here, I have to run the MCP servers as well, and I have just to not see me typing, I will just copy paste. So I'm starting the MCP server for Cloud Foundry. I will start the MCP server for BTP. I will start the CAP application. And I will start an app router because we use authentication for MCP server to have single sign-on. So then we also need an app router. Just making sure that the CAP instance is starting. Yeah, looks fine. And then we're starting the app router. Now, I didn't focus too much on the UI. The UI is completely vibe coded and not 100% according to the best practices, but it does what it needs to do. So it's a very simple chat interface in UI5. Takes some time to load. You see on the left side my chat sessions. If I click on a new session, I see on the right side at the bottom my message area. And again, I will ask to show me the BTP sub-accounts. So because it's connected to an MCP server, the destination, it should only give the BTP sub-accounts that I'm allowed to see. And it takes some time in SAP terms, but also in AI, that's a good thing. It means it's being processed. And I have here my BTP sub-accounts. All right. The second question I can ask is also just to show you the MCP server for Cloud Foundry. Show me the spaces in Cloud Foundry. Now it will use the same agent, the same conversation, the memory that's there, but it will use a different tool. And here we see we have the different spaces. So AI is the space that I'm in, but you see there are also other spaces available in Cloud Foundry. Okay, until here everything is clear? Because now we are going technical and now we're going in the code. I will not explain again every detail because I don't think it's, I don't want to make you fall asleep again. If you didn't yet. So first of all, and it's not related to CAP, but I think it's worth to mention, the MCP servers. I made like an MCP proxy server that makes it very easy to create an MCP server for BTP by just providing a config file. And I have here 4, but I only use 2 of them. And in this BTP MCP server, I have a config file. And in that config file, I give it a name. Is it clear, or do I need to zoom in at the back? Okay. So I give the server a name, a version, a description, and then I define the APIs. The APIs, again, I give it a name and a destination. That destination will be used by the MCP server. The path prefix, so in the destination, we only have the host name. And then after the host name, there is a path prefix. So that's being added here. And then we also say which entities we want to provide in the MCP server. We maybe do not want to expose all the entities. We also define the keys, so it's interesting for the MCP server to know what the keys are to do a read, for example. And we also allow here which operations to use by the MCP server. And in the end, if you just provide this config file, but anyway, you don't need to know the details. If you mention the plugin to Cloud Code, he will generate this file for you. You say, this is the API, I need this config file, and he will know the package, and he will be able to do it. But once you have this config file, you just have like the start script, OData MCP proxy, config, and the name of the file. You deploy this to BTP, and you have your MCP server up and running. The reason that I put this in the same project is because I want to bind them to the same XSUAA instance. And now this is becoming technical, but it's important to have the same XSUAA instance so that the token is valid. And then you have single sign-on between tokens. You can do it without it, but it's more complicated. I need to be careful what I'm saying. And I have the same like for this Cloud Foundry one. Again, a config file and the package JSON, OData MCP proxy, config file. That's just completely on the side. In the SRV, and yeah, I did some mistakes in the setup. You see the JavaScript file, but it's actually TypeScript. I have here a CDS with some sessions, the messages, tool calls, because in the messages, we want to know in the UI which tools have been called, so you can do some monitoring in the debugging. Some actions to create a session, an action for chatting, and just a list to get the sessions. That's what you see on the left side of the Fiori application. Now, in the chat service, we're basically, when we chat, when we get a message to chat, we will just call invoke agent with the session ID. The session ID is important to have a shared memory across the different API calls. And in the agent, that's where the magic happens. I'm already a bit too far, but here we make like a create MCP client that's important for the connection to the MCP servers. We get the tools. We make an AI chat client, an orchestration client to connect to AI core. This is an extension of the LangChain SDK from SAP to connect from BTP applications to AI core. Here we have then the call to the LLM, and then we have a dynamic action, but I will come back to this one. Eventually, the important part, and that's what you need to give to your agent, this is actually where we build the agent. Here we define a node for agent. That's basically the calls to the LLM. We have a node for the tools, and that's the link with the tools. And then we make connections. One connection is from agent. So after we execute the agent, it will ask to continue or not. And that's the conditional edge to define, should I execute a tool or am I finished? And if it needs to execute a tool, after the tool, it will go back to the agent to know, do I need to do something or are we finished? And then we have a connection from start to agent. So we go and we start this, when there's a message coming in, we start the agent, goes through the LLM goes to the tools because of here agent and it needs to call a tool. It goes back to the agent, and after the agent, it goes back to the should continue agent or not. And if there is no tool to be called anymore, it will finish. But this also allows to iterate. If there is, like if you have an OData API with skip and top, and there are like 300 items, it needs to call the API 3 times with skip and top. And then it will loop like 3 times over the tools. But this is the most important part to build an agent. And I think like with the add agent, they simplified it, they put it in. But here, it could potentially, you can add more nodes, you can add more edges, you can do much more yourself. And I'm running out of time. So, but I think I shared here the most important part. So let me go back to the slides. Just to recap, we have a chat client on the UI, a CAP layer, and inside the CAP layer, we have the agent. The LLM of the agent is connected in AI core. The MCP servers are different applications in BTP, and they're connected via the same XSUAA, and they're connected through destinations by the CAP layer. But yeah, you can look at the details. I will share the GitHub repository afterwards. I will skip, it's just a recap from what I showed. I think it's not ideal, but it's this setup. It's just a good starter kit to show you how to build your own agent and how you can get started. Now it's like a chat interface, but you can add precise tools and really put in guardrails on what's allowed and what's not allowed. You don't need to make it a chat interface all the time. Now, I have a few minutes left, and I will try to use them for what I think could be a potential next step. I think one agent, that's fun, but it's not scalable. If you want to scale MCP servers, they don't scale. One agent will not do the full job. If you have BTP-specific agent, that's fine. But if there comes something for ABAP, I would go for another agent and not use one agent to do everything. That's what we see in the full entire AI landscape. It's growing and it's going agentic. And for that, because it's difficult, you saw the state graph and so on, to configure the agent. But to scale it, you need to have agent to agent. And I came across another framework, Pydantic. And Pydantic is a Python framework, which makes it super easy to create an agent. It's a one line. You can create multiple agents on the fly, and you can even do agent to agent. So I'm just going to skip to what's important. So I made an application with Pydantic and integrated with AI Core, deployed on BTP with multiple agents, one orchestration agent, and then you can have specialist agent, one for ABAP, one for BTP, one for UI5, and so on. But let me just show it to you. One more thing, this agent has his own web interface, and there I think now we have the add agents in CAP. What would be nice is that we have like an add agent web UI or something. And that's something that this framework has, and it has it out of the box. And I will ask it. I will zoom in a little bit. Can you get me like I have configured here the agent connected to Arc1 and the ABAP documentation MCP server. And I will ask it to give me all ZBC packages. So it will check Arc1. It will check Arc1 for that specific agent I configured. Normally, try. Okay, so it's able to connect to the system, give me the result, and yeah, so it's connected to the system. It's connected to the ABAP documentation, so you could use it to do reviews. And yeah, in my opinion, this is like an integrated version of Joule for consultants, but integrated in your system. The reason why I came up with this is because many companies are still struggling with providing an agent. Do we go for Copilot? Do we go for something else? We don't know yet. We do not allow something, but this would already open the gates to have an agent available in BTP with AI Core credits. Just to show something behind the scene, this is the administrator page, and here we can easily configure agents. And in an agent, we can provide instructions. We can provide MCP servers with single sign-on, without a single sign-on, do SAP documentation, ABAP documentation, Arc1, and we could go further. So with that, the only thing left for me to say is, as I see how easy it is for those Python scripts to create agents, and before I was always checking why do we Node.js and Java in CAP. Now I'm asking, should we not have Python in CAP? Because it's super easy to create an agent. It's super easy to set up agent to agent. So maybe that's something we need to ask to Daniel. And yeah, just to recap, so I showed you how I use agent for building. I showed you how you can build your own agent. And I showed you how you can start with an agentic layer. Yeah, almost at the end. Sorry, one second. I also want to share why community matters. Most of the things I shared here today, it's what I learned from other community members. And with AI, it's changing a lot of stuff. Not sure how the future will look like, but anyway, what I think it matters is the community, because we learn from each other, learn how to use AI, and learn how to get better. So with that, I would like to thank you for all staying, even although there was a little bit of overlap with yesterday. And if you want to have the repositories for the agent and even the dynamic multi-agent setup, you can scan the QR codes.
Okay, thanks, Wouter. Due to the time, we started a bit late. We already are close to the next session, but I think we can take one if it's okay for you.
Yeah, it's okay.
One single question, okay?
A simple one, maybe. So in your single agent example, right?
Yeah.
You had a temperature of 0.7. Why is that? That's quite creative, right? Isn't it?
Yeah, just testing purpose. No specific reason. No, a default configuration.
Okay, Wouter's still around, so if you have additional questions, just ask him.